Welcome to Digital Tea Talk with designer Dave and marketing guru Simon of 405 Ads.
Should we call ourselves gurus?
In today's video topic, we're going to be talking about the steps that you want to accomplish before and after launching your new website. Going into the new year, some of you might be launching a new website. So we've created some easy steps that you can kind of go into before and after you launch that new website of yours, which help. The first step, I think that's really essential and kind of basic, is manually have the pages of your website scanned. Make sure everything makes sense. If you have 200 pages, if you have 10 pages, check them.
I find this step the most difficult. Checking my own writing. I write for website content a lot, and checking my own writing is the most aggravating thing to me. It's something I push off to the side because I don't want to deal with it at all, and I've let things go where I don't check it, and then you have to go in and check it.
So it's
You should do it first before you post anything. Just check it. Check it in the doc if you need to.
So
you write it.
It's fair to say if you're writing the content, is to have someone else check your content.
Yes, that helps immeasurably.
Okay, perfect.
Like, I actually have to work with someone on that.
So if you're a one-person show, or if you have two people in the office, and maybe neither of you wrote the content, you paid someone to write the content, maybe you should look at the content then. Maybe you should invest that time.
If you pay someone, definitely.
Yeah.
If you wrote it yourself and it's your business or your service, you may want to have someone that's not in the know or like that knows intimately about your business. You should have them read it. See if it makes sense to someone that's layman.
Have you ever been to a website where it just didn't make any sense?
Yeah, I have. And it's like, okay.
The website looked good. It's just the wording of that website, the paragraph, the content, whatever.
I've had
involved.
Images and the text not actually connect, and captions that were someone missed something along the way and it's the wrong caption for a photo or something. I've seen these things on living, breathing websites.
Oh, you're talking about design elements.
Yeah.
UX, UI design. Okay.
When I talk about writing, I talk about captions and even the meta
Well, that's
writing.
part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're launching, you want to make sure everything's perfect. So makes total sense. So you're launching a website. You want to check everything within your website when it comes to things making sense. Makes total sense.
That step's largely dependent on how many pages you have, too.
I would review everything.
Yeah.
Don't just review what comes across on the menu. Review everything. The best thing to do is go through your sitemap. If your web developer built a sitemap, use the sitemap to go to each page. And if you don't know what your sitemap is, usually it's / your domain / sitemap.xml. If it's something else like / sitemap, or if you don't have a sitemap, I would create one. If you're using something like WordPress, there's plugins that create sitemaps for you, sort of like all these SEO plugins, which by default will have a sitemap for you.
If you're using Shopify, it automatically generates it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It has it on the URL, and then you just / sitemap, I think it is. I haven't looked at one in a while, but I think it's just right on the nose. I think it's just your URL / sitemap .xml.
If you're using
look it up. We'll put it in the description. I think it's that though.
If you're using a WordPress plugin, it's usually your domain / sitemap.xml.
Yeah.
Okay, so given that we know step number 1, what would be the next step, Dave?
The next step would be testing the pages.
Yeah.
Making sure it works on mobile, tablet, because a lot of people use tablets now, which I need to get one. But tablet, mobile, desktop, laptop. And this is also dependent on what page width you built the website to. And the responsive, and who's your coder.
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to design. You have a design, looks great on your computer, Does it look good on mobile? Does it look good on an Apple iPhone versus an Android phone?
Yeah.
And third, that people usually miss, does it look good on tablets?
Yeah.
It's not going to look the same on tablets that it does on mobile with your cell phone on, let's say, your Apple or your Android. It's not going to look the same.
I'm designing a website right now for a company, and I had went to their headquarters, and everyone walking around the place had a tablet. I mean, seriously, like it was almost. It was a weird sort of moment when I noticed everyone on their tablets. I was like, okay, I'm going to have to take the tablet design very seriously.
Tablet,
because it's sort of a weird in between from mobile and desktop, and then it's like, okay,
it's probably one of the biggest misdesigns.
Yeah, it's like if you have 3-column, it usually will go down to 2-column, and then like one piece is sort of
The thing that breaks the most with mobile that I've experienced is, okay, you have the desktop, you have the mobile, but then some websites the menu breaks where it's kind of an in between on tablet. It's
especially when it's touch screen and then you can't actually click something. There's a few things that will tell you. I know Search Console will tell you if things aren't clickable.
And also things are out of width. So it's very possible that happens. Check with your web developer. If you have a custom website, you're probably going to fall into this category. You probably want to have a design set in place for each of those 3 sections, being computer, which is considered desktop, mobile, which has 2 parts. We have the Android and the iOS, some Microsoft, and then you have the tablet, which is usually Apple devices and Samsung. So iOS and Android kind of fall into this the tablet category. So those are the 3 categories for testing your website. Good question though. I have before we move on. How do you test it? Let's say you only have an iPhone and a computer. How are you going to test every device?
There are some websites.
There are third-party websites, but if you have something like Chrome on your computer, we'll show you a little tip and trick that lets you stimulate a different device on that browser. So for example, I'm on a computer. I want to stimulate a iPhone 6, 7, 8, and it'll transform my screen to an iPhone. And there's a little developer tool on Google Chrome settings that lets you do this. And it's quite common now. A lot of people use it for testing. Same thing goes for tablets. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say is if you don't have all the devices, and most people don't, you want to test it within your Chrome browser, which we'll put in the description of this video on how to do it. Quite simple. It's 2-3 buttons, and it gives you the option on the drop down to choose what device.
Yeah. That is a nice way of doing it because you can compare things on the same screen if you have 2 windows open.
Oh, yeah. So you have a website. Let's say you've launched. You checked the content. You checked it on the devices. The next thing that you want to do is the functionality.
Yeah.
Functionality is everything your website does in order for it to do something. So contact form submission, signing up to an eBlast newsletter, links to third-party websites like Facebook, Instagram, and whatever. You want to make sure these work. Now, I say this because when you're on a demo website, especially like on WordPress or any custom themed website, and they're working to build that website domain, and they launch it, they typically use demo URLs.
Yeah.
A demo URL is a URL they build on an off-site server, which when they launch will replace it with your website URL. But sometimes in the database, the header or the footer doesn't all get changed to the new URL. So the developers sometimes miss that.
Is that mainly just due to the CMS holding on to old files and records?
I don't think the database where they're kind of control
like the migration,
copy paste and changing the URLs is not using it for some parts like buttons, especially.
Oh, okay.
So I've had it where a developer launched a website, and as the marketing company at 405 Ads, we took that website, looked at it, and said, okay, well, your website has demo URLs, and they're quite obviously there, but he showed us proof that he changed in the database. But the database doesn't always connect to these themes like buttons sometimes, I've noticed. So check them. Check buttons, check the header, check the footer, check anything that has a hyperlink, something that you can click. Because if they're going from a demo website URL to your actual website URL, those demo URLs can sometimes get hidden and get stuck. So doesn't hurt to check.
No, it doesn't.
Check.
It also doesn't hurt to actually run through the contact form. Send yourself an email.
Send a test.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? If you don't get the test message, it could be a different problem, because right now with things like WordPress, they have some issues when it comes to the server, like local and remote. That's a different topic. But if your contact form is not working, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the website's fault. It could mean that it's the hosting, the settings on the server. So different topic. Don't want to get into it on this video.
Dealing with hosts is the most annoying.
Dealing with hosting is a
level
within development.
It's so awful.
Yeah, it's.
I've only had to do it.
You're
once
a
or
design
twice.
person. You're lucky you don't have to deal with that.
I've done it once or twice. I was on the phone with, I think it was HostGator for a while.
Yeah.
And then I've also dealt with Network Solutions.
Yeah.
Which was much older and more.
Network Solutions is a larger company.
One of the oldest hosts, I'm pretty sure.
It's a large company like GoDaddy. Yeah. Not recommended for some heavy websites. Sorry, Network Solutions. We only speak the truth.
And the website wasn't maintained well, so it wasn't fully your fault, Network Solutions.
If you want a good host and you want a recommendation on where to host your website, contact us. We'll send you some examples of some good hosts and some websites that are on those hosts. So we'll give that to you.
I just put one on DreamHost, and I thought it was kind of groovy. I thought it was easy.
DreamHost, you have to give us a promotion here. We are talking about your services. Okay, so step number 3, guys, is you want to make sure everything, like code-wise, is embedded onto your website. So if you have Google Analytics, make sure it's on there. Check if it's working. If you have Facebook pixels, any other pixels for tracking, make sure they're there. Very basic, but very important.
I mean, it can even go down to fonts. You have to embed some fonts. If you have a design...
Well, that's part of your design. Yeah, that's part of your design. I sometimes see an issue with the... like Google Analytics, right? The client...
We've got someone here. Hi. We're still rolling.
Find a way to edit.
I will. That's why I'm continuing to talk as to hope that there's something in this.
Make it a switch.
Switch?
Yeah, just make it a whoom. The 5th step, you want to check the on-page SEO. Now, web developers, if you're watching, by all means, please have an on-page SEO specialist check everything. We typically have websites that are launched and they're done by developers, very professional, but developers are not SEO people. And I'm going to keep bringing this up in some other videos.
Nor are they designers.
Nor are they designers. That is correct.
Check all your work. Check everything.
So I bring up the fact that you want the on-page SEO checked because there's a lot of elements. There's meta description, which is content. There's sitemap. There's schema. There's page...
I always did my meta descriptions to 160 characters. I know it's done by pixels.
Yes.
Like in amount of size, but is it still around?
It's 168 characters with spaces on the description. Usually 68 with spaces on the title.
Okay.
On-page SEO list is really long. We'll put some on the description of this video, Also, we'll put a link to a blog on the 4 or 5 Ads website that gives you more insight about on-page SEO. So please, if you're launching a website with a developer, please have an on-page SEO specialist check the website. All right. Last but not least is back up your website. Okay. Now, why am I saying this? You're probably thinking, well, I have the website. It's live. Why do I need to take a backup of something that's already live?
We live in the cloud nowadays. It's all secure.
Well, things break, first off. Websites can get malware. And some people just forget to renew their host. So their server's gone. I've had it where clients had a malware issue on their website. And they didn't have a backup and restore option. And it took them just as much money to rebuild that website or fix the website that they actually paid. And it's not because they were ripped off, it's because it was just so hard to remove the malware.
Yeah.
Or in another case, we have clients that come up to us that say they don't have their website. And when we ask them, well, what do you mean you don't have your website? It's your website, right? Oh, some guy in his garage was hosting it on some server with GoDaddy that's under his account. Oh, why? Have a backup of your website. If you have a business, be professional about your assets. Keep everything within your, portfolio.
You never want to get caught in the why. Why are you doing that category?
If you don't have access to your website and it's managed by a third party, okay, we'll ask for cPanel access and maybe get a backup of that cPanel. That's normal. If you're working with an agency that's hosting your website, I understand maybe they don't give you all the credentials, but you should have at least access to a cPanel for your website that you can access to for taking a backup.
Yeah.
Okay. So given that we went through all the steps, these are pretty much, fairly common steps. Yeah. Nothing out of the ordinary. Now, there are probably some other things that come up along the way that are maybe a little bit more technical.
What I would do is just start looking it up and just read through the notes, like the little snippet, like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, the really quick lists of what to do, and just pull from it. You'll see the same thing over and over and over, but eventually you'll find something new and be like, oh, I should check that.
We'll put the list of everything that we talked about in this video in the description, but every website's different, you guys, and we anticipate that with websites, technology changes all the time. There's a lot of custom aspects to a lot of the custom CMSs. If you're using a website builder like the Wix and those other ones that we don't favor as a marketing agency, you probably wouldn't benefit from going through all these steps.
No.
Because they're kind of built in. But with a custom platform that's for marketing, lead generation, these steps are more favorable and more understandable too. If you have questions about any of these steps, or if you have a website and you've launched something and you don't know how to resolve something, feel free to reach out to us. We're local, we're approachable, and we want to work with you.
We'll put an email in the description as to make it easy.
Thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe to this channel and like this video for future content.